Let's see if the princess can even make it up the first rope before she breaks down in tears. My older brother Tyler slammed 10 crisp $100 bills onto the hood of his truck, aiming his phone camera right at my face. He had invited his entire gym crew to watch me embarrass myself on the brutal veteran-run obstacle course. To him, I was just his quiet little sister who worked a boring desk job in Washington. But when I stepped up to the registration desk in an old gray PT shirt, the veteran drill sergeant running the course didn't laugh. He caught sight of the dull, scratched steel dog tags hanging from my neck, grabbed them and froze. His face went completely pale. He blew his whistle with a deafening blast and roared across the field, "Clear the course. Clear the damn course. Master instructor on deck." My name is Riley Hayes. I'm 28 years old, and for the past 6 years, my entire family has operated under the comfortable belief that I'm just a quiet, paper-pushing data analyst for the Department of Defense. To them, my life consists of beige cubicles, Excel spreadsheets, and endless government bureaucracy in Washington. No one bought into that narrative more than my older brother Tyler. Tyler was 30, a self-proclaimed fitness influencer, and the undisputed golden child of the family. He lived for gym mirrors, sleeveless hoodies, and boasting about his bench press numbers at Sunday dinners. Every single time I visited home, Tyler treated me like a fragile glass ornament, constantly reminding everyone that while he was out dominating life, I was rotting away under fluorescent office lights. The tipping point came on a humid Saturday morning at the Iron Crucible, a notorious military-style obstacle course run by retired veterans. It was known across the state for breaking amateur athletes with its 10-foot scaling walls, freezing mud trenches, and brutal rope climbs. Tyler had assembled his entire workout crew, all of them flexing in branded tank tops, laughing loudly, and treating the event like their personal victory lap. He didn't just invite me to watch, he decided to make me his livestream entertainment. With his phone mounted on a stabilizer and broadcasting live to thousands of his followers, Tyler slammed 10 crisp $100 bills straight onto the hood of his lifted truck. "Here's the deal, chat," Tyler barked into the camera, sneering as he pointed the lens right at me. $1,000 cold hard cash says the princess won't even make it past the first 200 meters before she bursts into tears and quits. His buddies hooted, egging him on. I didn't flinch, argue, or roll my eyes. I just looked at the cash, then looked Tyler dead in the eye. "Deal," I said calmly. "Keep the camera rolling." The truth about my life was simple, classified, and entirely incompatible with Tyler's fragile ego. I didn't spend the last 6 years staring at budget spreadsheets in an air-conditioned basement. Straight out of college, I had enlisted under a specialized direct track program, eventually serving as a lead physical conditioning and SEER instructor. Survival, evasion, resistance, and escape for elite special operations units. My job wasn't just to stay fit. My job was to break hardened soldiers down to their absolute limits and rebuild them into unshakable tactical assets. I kept my actual career hidden behind a bland government cover story for a reason. In my line of work, discretion wasn't just a policy, it was survival. Beyond that, our family already had one superstar performer who demanded all the oxygen in the room. If my parents knew what I actually did for a living, it would have created endless worry, endless questions, and a frantic sibling rivalry that Tyler's ego simply couldn't handle. While Tyler spent 2 hours every day recording bicep curls under flattering gym lighting, I had spent the last half-decade logging 20-mile ruck marches in full gear through sub-zero mountain ranges, running tactical assault courses with 40 pounds of combat kit, and swimming miles against ocean currents in pitch darkness. His muscles were built for vanity and social media likes. My conditioning was built for raw endurance, lethal efficiency, and sheer willpower. Tucked discreetly beneath my faded gray PT shirt hung a pair of scuffed dull steel dog tags. They weren't standard issue. The bottom tag was stamped with a distinct Master Cadre emblem and Advanced Warfare Instructor notches, insignia recognized only by those who had survived the most punishing qualification schools the military had to offer. Tyler thought he was setting me up for a joke. In reality, he had just invited a master instructor to play on an amateur playground. We walked over to the staging area of the Iron Crucible, the morning sun beating down on a course designed to crush ordinary spirits. Towering 12-foot timber walls cast long shadows over trenches filled with thick, soupy mud. Knotted climbing ropes dangled 30 feet from steel scaffolding, swinging gently in the wind above jagged gravel pits. Heavy cargo nets hung taut between telephone poles, and off in the distance, a low-crawl barbed wire lane stretched across sharp rocky dirt. It was an intimidating layout, built specifically by former combat veterans to give civilian weekend warriors a taste of real misery. Tyler strutted behind me, his phone camera held high at arm's length. "Look at this place, chat," he narrated with a smug grin, panning the lens from the massive walls straight to the back of my head. "Our little government desk jockey is already trembling. Place your bets in the comments. Will she quit at the wall, or will she burst into tears the second her designer sneakers touch the mud?" His friends chuckled from behind, tossing out snide remarks while stretching aggressively in their compression gear. I kept my pace steady, breathing through my nose, my posture relaxed and eyes scanning the terrain. I had run layouts twice as punishing as this in total darkness with 50 pounds of wet gear strapped to my back. To me, this obstacle course didn't look like a torture chamber. It looked like a warm-up. At the registration tent, a weathered man with a salt and pepper buzz cut and forearms like tree trunks sat reviewing liability forms. His name tag read Miller, and his posture radiated the uncompromising discipline of a career master sergeant. I stepped up to the table. As I leaned forward to sign the safety waiver, I adjusted the loose collar of my faded PT shirt, letting the heavy steel dog tags slip out and clink softly against the wooden clipboard. Sergeant Miller casually looked down at the paper, his pen ready to sign off, when the dull glint of steel caught his eye. His hand paused. Slowly he leaned forward, squinting at the worn edges of my lower tag. He didn't just see a standard identification number. He saw the distinct three-notch tactical border, the specialized instructor identifier, and the small, deeply stamped cross-dagger insignia of the Joint Special Operations Training Division. It was a mark carried by fewer than 50 active instructors across the entire military. The color instantly drained from Miller's weathered face. The hardened, bored expression he had worn all morning vanished in a fraction of a second. He looked up from the clipboard, his sharp gray eyes locking onto mine. For 3 agonizing seconds, neither of us said a word. He read the calm, steady focus in my posture, recognizing the unmistakable presence of someone who had trained the very operators he used to serve alongside. Miller dropped his pen onto the table, pushed back his folding chair and snapped to rigid textbook attention. The wooden desk rattled slightly from the sudden movement. He pulled the black steel whistle from around his neck, put it to his lips, and let out 3 deafening, ear-piercing blasts that cut clean through the noisy crowd. "Clear the course." Miller's voice roared across the field like a thunderclap, vibrating with an authority that stopped every person in their tracks. "All cadre halt active lanes immediately. Clear the damn field. Master instructor on deck." Across the entire facility, every single veteran drill instructor froze mid-sentence, snapped their heads toward the registration tent, and immediately began ushering civilian runners off the obstacles. Behind me, Tyler lowered his phone by a few inches, his smug grin completely frozen into a mask of pure confusion. His gym buddies stopped laughing, exchanging nervous, bewildered glances. "Wait," Tyler muttered, his voice cracking slightly on his live stream. "What is he doing?" Miller stepped out from behind the registration table, snapped a razor-sharp salute and dropped his arm to his side. "The lane is yours whenever you're ready, ma'am," he said, his voice ringing with absolute unyielding respect. I gave him a brief, respectful nod. "Just running a quick time trial, Sergeant." "Thank you." I walked up to the chalk starting line. The entire complex had fallen dead silent. Hundreds of spectators, athletes, and instructors lined the perimeter fence, watching in total shock as a single woman in an oversized gray t-shirt stood alone in front of the empty, cleared course. Behind me, Tyler's hand was shaking visibly on his phone stabilizer, his live chat scrolling so fast with question marks that the screen was a blur. The whistle blew. The moment the sound hit the air, my mind shifted entirely into tactical autopilot. I exploded off the line with pure, explosive acceleration. The first obstacle was the 10-foot timber wall that had stopped dozens of grown men that morning. I didn't even slow down. 2 hard strides, one foot planting hard against the wood grain for upward momentum, and I vaulted straight over the top rail in a single fluid motion, landing softly in a low squat before immediately sprinting into the next section. Next came the 30-foot climbing ropes. While civilian competitors struggled to find purchase with their sneakers, I locked the hemp rope between my combat boots, pulling myself upward with powerful rhythmic hand-over-hand reaches. I struck the metal bell at the top within 5 seconds, slid down under complete friction control and hit the ground running. Cargo nets, high balance beams, inverted hurdles. I cleared every single one with the textbook precision of someone who had taught these exact movement mechanics for thousands of hours. When I hit the 50-yard mud trench beneath the low wire, I dropped into a flat, low crawl, cutting through the silt like a torpedo without losing an ounce of forward momentum. I crossed the final timing barrier, hitting the stopwatch at 3 minutes and 14 seconds, shattering the course's all-time record by nearly a full minute. I turned around, wiping a speck of mud from my cheek, my breathing deep, steady, and completely controlled. Across the field, Tyler stood with his jaw dropped, his face dead white, staring at me like he was seeing a ghost. I walked slowly back toward the registration staging area, the quiet hum of stunned whispers rippling through the crowd. Sergeant Miller was standing at the edge of the lane, his chest puffed out, waiting for me. As I approached, he snapped another crisp, formal salute, which I returned with a slight nod. Tyler was still standing by his truck, looking completely paralyzed. His phone was dangling loosely at his side, the camera pointing straight at the gravel while his screen blew up with thousands of frantic, mocking comments from his stream. "Hey kid," Sergeant Miller's booming voice broke the silence, directing his piercing glare right at Tyler. "You might want to pick your jaw up off the dirt before you choke on a fly." Tyler swallowed hard, stammering, She's just an accountant. She works at a desk in D.C." Miller let out a dry, scornful laugh that echoed across the staging field. "An accountant? Boy, you've been living in a fairy tale. That woman right there is a certified lead master cadre for Special Operations Training Command. She writes the training doctrines that break men twice your size. You couldn't survive 20 minutes in a warm-up drill she designed." Tyler looked at me, his eyes wide with a mixture of disbelief, embarrassment, and sheer panic. I didn't say a single word of gloating. I simply walked over to the hood of his truck, picked up the 10 crisp $100 bills, and walked back to the registration table. "For your Veteran Outreach Fund, Sergeant," I said, placing the stack of cash into Miller's hands. "Much appreciated, ma'am," Miller replied with a broad grin. Tyler just stood there in absolute silence, completely dismantled by the quiet reality of the sister he thought he could humiliate. Tyler finally ended his stream with trembling fingers, but the damage was already done. Within minutes, clips of his bet and my run were being shared across social media, completely dismantling his arrogant online persona and replacing it with endless comments clowning his ignorance. The ride home was dead quiet. Tyler didn't say a single word, didn't turn on the radio, and couldn't even look me in the eye. The dynamic that had defined our entire lives shattered that afternoon. Over the weeks that followed, the condescending remarks at family dinners vanished completely. Tyler stopped flexing in front of every mirror he passed, stopped bragging about his surface-level gym routines, and started treating me with a quiet, hesitant reverence that verged on awe. He never questioned my career or brought up my quiet lifestyle again. As for me, I packed my bags that Sunday night and caught my flight back to Washington. I slipped back into my regular routine, stepping into the training facilities where respect wasn't won with loud boasts, flashy cameras, or social media validation, but forged through silent discipline, relentless grit, and unyielding competence. People often think that true strength has to announce itself with noise and arrogance. But the truth is, real power never needs to scream. It just waits quietly for the right moment, lets the fools talk themselves into a corner, and lets the undeniable results settle the score.